flex me a bad body. Say, oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah. It's a full strong, yeah. Oh, it's another one. It's another one, yeah.
Good evening. Welcome to iBoxingHub. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. I go by the name of Biyenge, featuring yours Truly Tre and our special guest, Gman.
How's things? Thanks for having me on, guys.
No, big up to you, Gman. Honestly, we appreciate you. We love you. We love the content that you create as well. And we appreciate the time that you've given us as well, because you've obviously been on the show before when we had obviously 300 subs. Now, months later down the line, you're back on. So people, if you don't know who Gman is, we're obviously going to add the description to his channel. But he also has this tremendous series with Ade. So people, please, if you're not watching Ade and Gman series, I don't know where you've been. Boxing connoisseurs, boxing purists need to, tune into that. So I'm going to add the description for all of these things straight after the show. But before we get started,
picture.
But before we get started, here's a word from our sponsors, D-Rock. Yes, people. So that's iBoxingHub in association with D-Rock. So guys, just take advantage of the discount code, which is 40% off. All you got to do is just type in the code, which is iBoxingHub24. Cuz, look, we've got a tremendous guest here. So I'm going to just let you lead the floor of this. But people, thank you for tuning in. Let's go. I'm excited.
Well, where do I start? 2025. We've got so many fights to look forward to. One of the big news I'm hearing, I don't know if it's been confirmed just yet, is Canelo and Crawford. G-Man, I just want to know your thoughts on that.
Man, it's like, damn, when they talked about this originally, I was kind of like, what? It just sounded so out there. But look, we're awaiting an announcement. It's essentially a done deal. It's going to take place in not even an arena in Las Vegas, because imagine a show. Floyd never outgrew an arena in Las Vegas. This show does. It's genuine. Honestly, I can't emphasize enough how it's insane. It's insanity. You've got Terence Crawford, who is the older man, but arguably one of the best fighters of this generation, against Canelo, who is one of the most acclaimed, accomplished fighters of this generation. And he's no slouch himself. It's just, I think Crawford is coming up from the weights, but we've complained a little bit that Canelo has, Benavidez, Morrell, a Bivol rematch. Could have, but didn't. But Crawford, this is to have, if you win, because there's no guarantee, but if you have this name on your resume, I mean, that's something else. This is one of the best fighters of this era, and one of the biggest stars, and one of the best fighters in Canelo's right as well of this era. I can't believe it. It's epic.
It is absolutely epic. I agree with you, and I'm not even going to lie. I hate to be that guy, but I wasn't for it initially because of the weight classes. Crawford, we could argue that Madrimov, he just about got through that difficult challenge at 154. And now he's obviously moving up 2 weight classes. Is he going to carry that power up to 168? That's the question. But then you think about, you guys mentioned it on your show, and this is one of the reasons why I need people to kind of tune into what you guys are doing with Rade, of course. You mentioned it, and you brought up the point that the fight initially was, for Usyk moving up in weight. Look at the weight difference between Usyk
6 inches and 50 pounds.
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. So,
It's like people say, like, oh, you know, he outweighs him by, you know, half a stone or so. It's like people, if Usyk was outweighed by Tyson Fury by half a stone and 3 inches, yeah, we wouldn't be talking about two decisions. We'd talk about 2 knockouts. Man gave up 50 pounds and 6 inches and still walked the bigger guy down.
This is what I'm saying. This is exactly what I'm saying. So if Usyk was able to do that with Fury, this is why it kind of makes sense with Crawford and Canelo, because we're here. The fight potentially could happen. What are you saying? Are you saying Canelo? Saying Crawford? What you guys are saying, man? I want to get your predictions.
On paper, ideally, it's Canelo. Yeah, Canelo is the man. But people are saying Canelo, I feel that he's declining now. It's not the old Canelo. I mean, look, right. When Canelo fought, what's his name? Charlo's power wasn't affecting Canelo at all. And we all know that, what's his name? Crawford. He has not got the power to knock out Canelo. He hasn't. But I believe he could just pull it off. But he has to avoid trading with Canelo. That's the only way he wins. That is the only way he can potentially win. And if he beats Canelo, he will be the 3rd man in history to beat Canelo. Yeah. Mayweather, Bivol, and Crawford. Wow, then.
And even those 3 losses. I mean, if you say to someone there your 3 losses, you'd be like, okay, I'll tell. I mean, I'd rather not lose, but you know, not bad to lose to them. Better than losing to John Doe, you know.
Yeah, no, trust me, and I agree with you. I agree with you completely.
Again, I don't know how true this is, but apparently Canelo's fighting Jake Paul in May.
Oh, Gman, just what's your thoughts, man? What was your thoughts, Gman?
Canelo wants to break records this year and probably make more money in one calendar year than any boxer has ever done in living memory. Because that's what he'll do if he fights Jake Paul and Terence Crawford back to back. He will absolutely make Alexander Usyk versus Tyson Fury, both fights, look like, you know, pennies in terms of the amount of money he'll get. That's what it is. That's all it would be. It would be Canelo loves his May date. His Cinco de Mayo date, his September date. Unless something serious happens, it's always those 2 dates. It's always. So you know you're fighting Crawford. You don't want to risk an injury. You don't want to risk, God forbid, a loss. Maybe you fight William Skull, doesn't look like much. He's a revelation on fight night. You don't want to risk that. We've seen a few things on some of these Riyadh Ring magazine shows. You think this is how it's going to be. Joseph Parker, Deontay Wilder. Well, you think Deontay Wilder get through, fights Joshua, loses. So you don't want to take a risk. Jake Paul won't lay a glove on Canelo. The first meaningful right hand Canelo throws, Jake Paul is going to be all kinds of messed up. And Jake Paul won't give a damn because he's going to run to that bank with multi-millions, maybe even more than McGregor got for fighting Floyd. And Canelo will just walk into that fight with Terence Crawford and be like, all right, listen, I'm weighed down enough by my wallet, but, you know, I got room for more.
100%. I agree with everything that you're saying, G-Man. And also, just a quick one as well. One of my mates that I'm doing a project with, so Dennis Case, he personally just wanted me to say to you, he's a massive fan of your work and he appreciates, you know, what you do. So big up to you. And big up to Mr. Styles in the chat as well. He's saying also this fight with Canelo and Crawford makes more sense than Jake Paul going to the Olympics or even fighting Mike Tyson. So it's a good point from Mr. Styles 619, all the way from Canada, man. Big up to him.
And considering how much traction that Mike Tyson fight got, that was something else, all right.
But question though, G-Man, question for you. We saw how much traction that Jake Paul, Mike Tyson made. Why are we not seeing because it makes more sense for me, a KSI and a Jake Paul? We need to see a collaboration between MVP Promotions and the kind of Misfits boxing. I think that in itself will generate so much money because the industry is growing. What do you think, man?
Yeah, it is. Maybe Jake Paul likes the fact, because you think about it like this, KSI, he's doing his thing. And listen, say what you want to say, it takes balls to get in the boxing ring at whatever level, right? But KSI is fighting and they're doing not a bad job on the likes of Tommy Fury. And look, I'm not these huge. I didn't even know who KSI was until he started until Misfits. So when I see some of these YouTubers, I'm like, who the hell are these and what did they do? But he's fighting those guys, having an easy time, making money, happy days. Whereas Jake Paul can feed us this line that, oh well, at least I'm fighting professionals. And even though fighting, I know he never officially fought him, but fighting like a Hasim Rahman Jr. is on par. The level of achievement, there's no real achievement either way than fighting some dweeb who plays FIFA. At the end of the day, he can sell it as, well, at least he's a proper boxer.
Yeah.
You know, and at least that way he can sell it as, well, he's fighting a YouTuber, but I'm fighting a boxer, so there's the risk factor, and that's why people want to watch. That's how he's the only guy who could fight a journeyman or some of those pro boxers. Honestly, I mean, how they ever got wins is beyond me, because they look shockingly shocking. He's the only guy who could fight these bona fide journeymen and make 7-8 figures, maybe 7 figures, because people are like, well, he's still a boxer, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. And big up to Mr. Style 619 just getting involved in the chat. He's saying that fight makes a lot more sense, but it ain't happening because his brother Logan being business partners with him as well. Do you think, cuz, what are you saying? Do you think that fight happens?
I believe the fight can happen, but I think it comes down to finance. Now, you're probably thinking, what do you mean finance? I think if it happens, Jake would want more of the purse, and that's where they clash. Do you know what I mean? Because KSI, he's big here, he's well known, and obviously, you know, Misfits is his, whereas MVP promotion is Jake Paul's. Do you know what I mean? So it just comes down to, in order to make that fight happen, I don't think Jake would want to give KSI 50% unless they're making big, huge money. But then again, it comes down to, where would this fight take place? Would it be in America? Would it be here, or possibly Saudi?
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Boy, regardless,
we know Turkey won't put anything in on this. He said it. Fair play.
What, he's not getting involved at all?
Not at all.
Wow.
At all.
Turkey's just said, nah, not involved.
He knows better. He knows better.
He does. We got to give him credit, man. I know a lot of people kind of don't like what he's doing in terms of the monopolization of the sport, but look, what he's doing with boxing right now, he's giving us the fights that we want. He's giving us even the fantasy fights that we think, should this be happening? But look, he's delivering at the end of the day. So
look at this card in 3 weeks' time. Honestly, it's just, you look at that, you just think, yeah, you know, it's like, how is that possible? But he did it.
Yeah.
He's done it.
Money talks. Money talks in this industry, man. Money talks. If the money's right, the fight will happen. If the money ain't right, unfortunately, it won't happen. Talk about money. What's happening with AJ? Who does he fight? Who should he fight? Me, personally, I think it makes sense if he just fights Wilder.
What you saying?
Yeah. Listen, I think we're all should be in agreement that Tyson Fury is quote unquote retired. But if AJ even so much as signs for a fight, expects, you know, and all of a sudden, you know, I've got the itch to come back, and you know, it wouldn't shock me if AJ signed to fight Deontay Wilder or Martin Bakoli or someone like that. Fury announced his comeback. AJ maybe got an injury, and you know, Fury being like, "Oh, now you pull out of a fight just to fight me." Oh, none of that. It's like, mate, look in the mirror. But yeah, I think AJ will look to, well, he said himself, he's not beholden to Tyson Fury. He's going to look to go other options. Now, Ben Shalom has said Bakoli, it's a done deal, quote unquote. No, it's not. Far from it. Far from it. Eddie Hearns even said they've never even had a conversation over it. So I reckon Turkey had words with Ben Shalom. Ben Shalom put 2 and 2 together and got 5, and is now going around saying, oh yeah, it's a done deal. Look, I reckon that it's going to be Deontay Wilder. He's going to fight Curtis Harper. Most likely, we haven't had the announcement yet, but that is just to get Wilder looking devastating again, so you can sell AJ Wilder as, you know, Wilder's back, and AJ, how is it going to be more of a 50-50 than it is? Because, I mean, I'd make AJ heavy favorite against Wilder at this point anyway.
No, I 100% agree, and I think that's the fight to make. If we're not going to get the Fury fight, which it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And if we're not going to get the Bokoli fight, obviously, us personally, me and my cousin, we're Congolese. We want to see our Congolese, brother get that big fight in Congo. And I would love to see Rumble in the jungle too. But I don't think, from a business perspective, if I was wearing Eddie Hearn's hat right now, it's too much of a high risk, low reward kind of fight, I would say. But
it would depend on how much Turkey's willing to fork up for that fight. If Turkey likes the fight and he's willing to pay what he paid for maybe a Fury fight, well, Eddie Hearn, listen, as far as I'm concerned, Eddie Hearn is looking at Joshua like, get me one last payday. That's it. Get me one last. If that payday happens to come against Bokoli, he'll take it. Eddie Hearn would be just like, yeah, take that fight.
Yes. Big up Aaron in the chat as well. Aaron from AdFest. Obviously, we're working on the project together. And look, Aaron, we're going to be doing tremendous work with AdFest, with the events that we're doing going forward. So, big up to Aaron. Also, Mr. Stars has a few questions for you, G-Man. So he said, who you got in a rematch between Bivol and Bertabiev, and Ben versus Eubank, and also where does Shields go from winning her 4th undisputed world title? So there's 3 questions for you, man. Let's have it.
3 questions, but really 2. I don't think I've ever sat through a Clarissa Shields fight, so I can't say where she goes.
Oh man,
that just goes over my head. So, where does Clarissa Shields go? Well, listen, I won 4 egg and spoon races when I was 10, so it's like on par, when I was 10, what did I do then after that? I went to the hopscotch race. So there you go. It's on par. In terms of Bivol Beterbiev, I'm on the fence still about that. I'm going back and forth, but right now I'm edging Bivol for revenge right now. But I'm gonna do a little bit more in-depth work on that over the coming weeks. And Ben Eubank, oh man, that's a trickier one. I was originally Ben, I was originally Eubank. But that if there is a rehydration clause, then I'm gonna go with Conor Ben. If there is, I'm picking him to win, probably by knockout, but late. It won't be early. It'll be late. It'll be a late one. Woo! I don't think Frank will have the stamina down that end. And I think that at 160, you can make the argument that his punching power is still there, but his punch resistance is not not what it should be. Because at 168, he took those shots from George Groves of all people, massive puncher.
It's a better weight for him.
Yeah,
that is better weight for him.
He took those punches. He was stunned. You would be. George Groves was a great puncher, but you had people, Carl Froch going down to George Groves. Yeah, Eubank was stunned, but he never went down. Never looked like going down. But at 160, it's like those punches from Liam Smith, who it's not even, probably George Groves' jab is harder than any right hand he could throw. He had Eubank out on his feet.
It's true, but do you think, and I've got my little theory on this, him going down to that registered weight that he was supposed to fight Conor Ben originally, do you think that initially affected that fight against Liam Smith? Him having to go down that weight, not fully rehydrate into his proper weight and all of that situation.
If you think about it like this, right? It wasn't even 160. It was 157?
7 point something.
The 3 pounds when you're that drained and that's a lot. That's going from middleweight. If you weigh 160 with a 10-pound rehydration clause, that's 170. You're not even allowed to do that. So that's a big one. He made that. You got to bear in mind, that was early October. So he would have finished that camp, having drained himself for that. He would have finished that camp. He would have had maybe a fortnight off, because it wasn't long after that they announced the Liam Smith fight. He would have probably had a fortnight off, rehydrate, and then straight back into camp, bring himself back down to that weight. This time, no rehydration. But surely the body hadn't recovered from the first one.
Yeah.
Because he only fought him in January. So you're looking and you're thinking, well, hang on a minute. Like, you're not even 3 months removed from a serious weight cut. Yeah, you didn't box on that night, but that's a serious cut. And you've only just 3 months later recovered. You can't. So, yeah, that definitely played a factor in it. But I think that was, bear in mind, that's 2 years ago. So, he's going to, even if, say, for the Liam Smith rematch, he wasn't necessarily struggling. 2 years later, he's older. Your body, you're just going to get heavier as you get older. So he might not have been struggling for the rematch, but he may be struggling now even though he's planning on, fighting at this weight. So I think 168 is his best weight. He seems stronger. He seems to hit harder at that weight and everything. I mean, he seems much improved.
And this is something that Senior's been saying as well. Senior says that that's his best weight in his opinion.
More punching power.
More punching
seems
power,
just to have more energy, more spring in his step. Definitely takes a better shot. I think is. Listen, I understand why he's doing it, and at the end of the day, at 168, it's Canelo or bust, and he ain't beating Canelo, so I get it. He wants to maybe try and pick up a belt, but sometimes you just got to be smart and sensible. Listen, those belts at 168 will get fragmented eventually. You're better off up there.
I agree with you completely, because obviously I know you've said it a few times on previous shows, but what are you saying, man?
I've said, look, if Eubank doesn't knock out Conor Ben, if it goes to distance, there's a possibility that Ben wins the fight.
Boy,
that's going to be I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good fight. It's going to be a good scrap. It's interesting. First time around, I was adamant it was Eubank. Hearing how poor he looked, he probably would have lost that fight. In fact, he would have lost that fight.
Thinking about the Liam Smith fight,
he would have lost that fight. So I'm thinking, add an extra 2.5 years. I mean, it's not going to get any easier. You tend to forget. Sometimes you might go through a really hard training camp, and it was hard. You had to do a lot of things, but time kind of it takes away that kind of, what you call it, pain or that bad memory, and you think, oh, was it really that bad? And then you're hit with it again. You're like, yeah, it was that bad. So 2.5 years later, let's wait and see.
Let's wait and see. One thing that I am hoping for, because I wasn't really I didn't want to see the fight, but me and my cousins, we grew up watching WWE wrestling, the storylines and the build-ups. I think this fight's only interesting if Senior is in Junior's corner. Conor obviously is going to have Nigel and Conor. We've got to get the dads involved, man. They have to be involved, or it kind of, the fight, the spot, it's not really the same if Senior's not there, man. Just my opinion, man. We just need Senior there. But Senior's saying the fight's not happening.
Yeah, they want to get the dads involved. Senior doesn't want to. He said he doesn't think the fight's going to happen. I don't know why. It's a strange one. I get the impression. Listen, Chris Eubank Senior is closer to Chris Eubank Jr. than I'll ever be. He knows his son better than I'll ever know him. So surely he is looking at this thinking, no. And I know, well, not me personally, but he's thinking, I know what weight and this like that can do to someone. I know all about it, and he'd rather forget that, what happened to Michael Watson. So he's looking at this from experience, and he actually can say, I have experience of this, and he knows his son better than most. So when your dad is saying that, you kind of have to listen to it. Like, he was adamant the first time around he doesn't want this fight to happen, and whether that was because he knew Conor Ben was eating too many eggs, or whether he just knew that this was wrong and he looked terrible when he weighed in. So look, Chris Eubank Senior, he might not be Duke McKenzie in terms of predictions, but he might take one to the bank.
Yeah, this is it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one because I could understand why Senior has his concerns. Look at what he's gone through with the whole Michael Watson situation, and then Junior's had that situation with Nick Blackwell, and we've seen these things happen, but ultimately, I think something like this hasn't happened in boxing before. Two sons, fighting, legacies after their fathers. So it makes sense from that storyline perspective. But from a realistic perspective, I think Harlem, Eubank, and Conor Ben makes more sense because they're more like similar in weight. But for the commercial value, it doesn't, make sense for the boxing fans or the fantasy fans, let's say.
Well, Chris Senior wanted to do that fight at one point, Harlem Eubank versus Conor Ben.
Yeah.
It does make more sense, but this will make everybody richer. And that really is, that's what it's about for the most part. Eddie Hearn knows damn well the reason why he wanted to do this fight was because he knew it's going to make him an absolute king's ransom, as did Ben Shalom, as did all involved. So, that's why they wanted to do it so bad.
Yep, that's why you got Turkey in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
making things happen. So this is why we got to appreciate His Excellency for, you know, just delivering these kind of fights, of course. Just a quick one, Gman, of course. We saw over the weekend, you know, Benavidez, Morel. I kind of just wanted to get your thoughts, because potentially now he's in line to fight the winner of Bivol and Bertabiev. My question to you is he ready for the winner right now?
Yeah, no, I think he is. From what I seen, he definitely impressed me. Morel was competitive. Like, this wasn't, I mean, that 118, 108 scorecard was an absolute joke. It wasn't that wide. It was competitive. It was a solid 8-4 type of fight. It was a solid 8-4 fight, but Benavidez was always in charge. You always got the impression that he was in control. Defense was underrated. He slipped a lot of shots real well. I really like what I seen. One of the best pressure fighters in the game, bar none, easily, pound for pound, one of the best pressure fighters. So him against Beterbiev would just be carnage. Him against Bivol, I would favor Bivol, because he tends to, even when he fights bigger pressure fighters, because although he's coming up, he's way bigger than Bivol, way bigger. It's huge.
Yeah.
Bivol has a tendency with his movement, with his accuracy, to slow pressure fighters down, to slow the output down. He did that with Zerdo. I thought Zerdo would use his size and strength. He didn't. He couldn't really. He just got into a boxing match with Bivol, and that was disastrous. And Bivol was brilliant that night. I think if Benavidez can set a pace like he normally does and impose himself on Bivol, well then, if he can set his tempo, if he can set the pace, and he can get Bivol looking a bit, you know, ragged, then we're in for a good fight. Beterbiev Benavidez would just be, you know, World War III. It would be absolute carnage. It would be brilliant, but it would be, holy crap, that would be
Someone's getting knocked out.
Oh yeah, but that would be carnage. That would be just, do not look away from your screen, and not for the faint heart.
That's what we want. That's what we live for, boxing. And look, Mr. Styles 619 is thinking that, you know, he'll have a decent fight against whoever walks out as champion, but whoever walks away in a rematch as a champion, they'll smoke Benavidez in a fight. So
I wouldn't necessarily say smoke. I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think I'd pick Bo over Benavidez, but I can't see either guy, whether it's Beterbiev or Bivol, having an easy time. I can't see it. I think either way, I think they'll probably both beat Benavidez, but they'll leave knowing shit they've been in a fight.
Yeah. Do you know, it's crazy. Like the fight, Bertabiev and Bivol. That fight, I had Bivol winning. However, Bertabiev, he just come out from an injury. Do you know what I mean? He was injured. He had a knee operation. So it's like, he's now going to this camp, let's just say, quote unquote, 100%. I don't know. I'm now sitting on the fence, because last time, I had Bivol winning, because at the end of the fight, look at the body language. Bertabiev wasn't happy. Do you know what I mean? Until they announced him the winner. This rematch is going to be a tough one. You know? Yeah,
and you got to bear in mind, Beterbiev had injuries. He'd been kind of resigned to fighting once a year, which hadn't helped. And even when you think about it, he fought Callum Smith January, October. You know, it's in the calendar year. It's still 10 months. You know, it's still a long time. Whereas this, October, February, it's not even 6 months. So it is, and I think I've always said it, activity, if you can make it happen, it's your best friend. As long as you're not taking, you know, a serious amount of punishment. But if you can stay active, you're staying sharp, you'll see the benefit. I think that's why, although there wasn't the same amount of drama in this rematch, which was Usyk versus Fury, for my money, Usyk looked better in the rematch. He looked much better. He looked much better because he was more active. And there wasn't as much drama. Fury looked better too, but for me, Usyk, when I went back and watched, I was like, oh my God, like, this Usyk looked way better. This looked better probably than he did against Dubois. Was Usyk really throwing it back. And I'm putting that down to activity. The fact that it was such a quick turnaround, you know, straight back into camp, let's go.
Yeah, no, 100%. And Usyk, he just showed his class on the night, and he just also showed that he's able to make the right adjustments as well. Because he kind of, you know, the first fight, we obviously saw what happened in the first fight. It was gruesome, that special round that everyone always talks about. But the second fight coming round, Fury came in heavier. He was more confident, but Usyk was still able to nullify him in a sense where he can done enough just to win the fight. So
Yeah, and the first time around, Fury had clear rounds. He had one clear round the whole fight.
He was better the first time, actually. He was actually better in that first fight compared to the second, in my opinion. I think Fury performed better in the first fight compared to the second, but this is just what Usyk does, man.
Yeah, he definitely did. He if Usyk did everything apart from drop and stop Fury the second time around, he looked way better. Even the AI judge, who you wondered, he had Usyk winning by a mile.
What's your thoughts about that, G-Man? You got to educate the people. What's your thoughts about the AI judging? Do you think it's good for boxing? Is it bad for boxing? Is it necessary? Is it...
The way they did it with the Fury Usyk fight, I think is the best way to do it for the time being, to iron it out. Have it there, but it's got no bearing. Because look, I'm all for if you want to. I don't necessarily agree with it myself, because like something like you hear people like Sullivan talk with VAR. It's like, well, if you've someone who's been like knocked out with one punch and it was illegal and you bring it back, it's not going to help him. He's still concussed. So, you know, that's stupid. That's not going to help him. But if you're going to try something like that for maybe a foul, you know, you ruled it a knockdown when it was a slip. Yeah. But do it on a little nothing undercard show in America where it's going to have no bearing. Don't do it in a main event of a unification or an undisputed fight. And if you're going to do it like with the AI judge, if you must do it on the big stage, do it like they did in the Usyk Fury. Have it there, but it's got no bearing on this fight.
Yeah, no, it's true. Mr. Styles is saying it can't be any worse than some of the terrible judges.
It was better than some of the judges, actually. It was better. The AI judge probably had the most accurate out of all of the scorecards, really. And yeah, I mean, because you think about it like this, look, I'll always go for humanize anytime, but how many judges count body punching, really? Now, they did for the Fury Usyk fight, but they're not always doing it. That AI judge, you can tell he counted all those body shots.
Everything. Every shot, I would say he was able to use it. So my thing is about, if we're going to incorporate this, you know, for the future, I'm talking about, you know, 5-10 years down the line, judging, do you think they should be similar to VAR, where they're away from the ring, away from the atmosphere, they're just in the box with the TV screen and just be able to just judge the fight without the influence of the fans and people? I think putting them in that kind of environment, I think maybe you'll get better decisions, man. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that, Gman, man?
Yeah, I mean, you could do that, and you know, you'll find that fans tend to have more accurate scorecards than judges sometimes, because they're not watching it; they're watching it from their kitchen, their sitting room, couch. What I would say to the judges is moving forward is that the British Boxing Board of Control, or whomever is the, you know, overseer, they should be the ones putting the judges up in the hotels, not the promoters. That's what I would be saying, because maybe then you'll get better decisions. Because, you know, oh, I stayed in the Plaza Hotel for this fight and I had my expenses paid. Thanks, Eddie. Close round. It's not that close.
Yeah, no, big up to Trill Dollar Bill in the chat as well. So Trill Dollar Bill obviously launched his album Transformation of Trill. So people, make sure you're streaming his new album, of course, man. But because I know you got plenty of questions for G, man. We've been waiting for this, man, for such a long period.
Well, you know, this week is the big one. Well, it's the Last Dance.
Last Dance.
Otto Wallen. How do you see that one going, G-Man?
No, I'm not going to spoil it, because I'm literally, when I finish up here, I'm going to record a prediction video for that. And I will put snippets of this in there, so don't worry about that. So I'm not going to spoil it, because I want people to watch my video as well. But yeah, look, it's a good look. I would have preferred Jarrell Miller. I prefer Chisora to retire, because he sounds awful. Absolutely awful. But he's persistent on fighting to 50. Okay. Let's see what he's like at 50 for doing this. But yeah, look, I don't envision it being as fun a fight as Jarrell Miller. Otto Wallin is garbage. Otto Wallin is absolutely muck. But Derek Chisora is shot to bits.
Now, big up to FK Breeze Amateur Boxing. He's
FK
saying
Breeze.
Gman and iBoxingHub growth is unreal. It's, to be honest, it's more this guy here, man. Gman, we have to appreciate what Gman does for the community, man. So people, make sure you're tuned into what he does, man. I'm just excited, man. But I think I agree with you. I think Otto Wallin, this fight it's kind of a tune-up fight for his 50th. We don't know where that 50th is going to be. Is that going to be in the States? Is that going to be back home in Africa, Zimbabwe? We're hearing talks of whatever. I would love to see him bow out in a possible Riyadh season, Zimbabwe. Just give him his, good fight. It could be against a Dylan White. It could be against whoever. Just give him that fight. It's just my opinion anyway, man.
Yeah. If he fought Dylan White now, I'd pick him every day of the week. It's Dylan White. Listen, Derek Chisora beat Joe Joyce. Dylan White went life and death with Ebenezer Tete. I know what's a bigger achievement. And I know what's worse.
Yeah.
36 years old, my ass. That's what I'll say on that one.
No, that is it's just legendary, man. It is just legendary. It's just the fact that we're still. Why is that still a discussion, man? Like, because it's 2-0 to White, but White just he's adamant, man. He wants
should be 1-1. I think it probably should be 1-1 because each fight was close and a lot of controversy. Even the second fight, the knockout was what it was, but the fact that the referee docked the point, it made Chisora restless. He was winning the fight, So a lot of people are like, could it be 1-1? Should it be really 2-0 to Chisora if it be different referee, different judges? So, I think, and listen, as I said, Chisora, in my opinion, he beat Dylan. Listen, Dylan White is so bad. He's never been the quickest. Now he's even slower than ever. And his punching power seems to be gone. Again, I'll point out, Daniel Dubois knocked out a younger, if he was ever young, Ebenezer Tete in a round. And Dylan White couldn't put a dent in a 36 plus 20 years Ebenezer Tete.
The best person for Dylan White to fight now, I would say it would be Joe Joyce. That would be a good fight, them two.
Joe Joyce knocked Dylan White out. I will put money on that right now. He'd knock Dylan White out.
Clean. What are you saying? Clean.
Clean knockout. Joe Joyce has shot the bits, but he would knock Dylan White's bark out.
That would be a fight, man. I wouldn't mind to see that fight. I
couldn't believe how bad he looked. I knew he looked bad, but holy crap, he looked awful. I was like, that's Ebenezer Tete. Again, not a good fighter, and he makes Luis Ortiz look young.
Luis Ortiz. Wasn't someone linked to fight him recently?
Lawrence Okoli.
That was it. Lawrence Okoli.
Yeah.
Lawrence Okoli, Lawrence Okoli.
He wants a dangerous fighter from 10 years ago.
10 years ago. That's what I was just. What's your thoughts
10
about?
years is a long time.
What's your thoughts about Lawrence Okoli? His heavyweight campaign, man. Do you think it's going to be a good one? Does it make sense for him? Like, do you see a future in the source in the division? Because I see certain fighters beating him, like the Wardleys. I think Wardley still beats him, in my opinion. I think he's the most avoided one of the other than Martin Bakoli.
My opinion on Lawrence Okoli as a heavyweight is that someone very soon will make sauce out of him. He is honestly, like, he is going to get absolutely smoked when he steps up and fights one of the top 10.
Do you know what? Okay, Lawrence Okoli beats Dylan White. How do you see that one going?
Oh yeah, he beats Dylan White. I said top 10. And Dylan White is top 50 at this point.
Body snatcher top 50. Ooh. Yeah, it looks like I wouldn't mind to see it, if I'm honest with you. If we're gonna
for entertainment value, yes. I'd watch it. I would, yeah, I would. For entertainment value, I'd watch it.
Yeah. That's the only reason why I would watch it, because someone's getting knocked out in that fight, man. Someone's getting cleaned out in that fight, and whoever does, wins that fight, then what happens next? Do we see a Lawrence Okolie winning a title after the Furies, the AJs, everyone's gone? Do we see that happening? But I don't really see that in Okolie, if I'm honest with you.
No. Look, he's got punching power. I don't know what his natural size is, because he's not a natural 260 pounder. But I just can't see it. I can't. He's dangerous for any man with that punching power, especially the right hand. But at the end of the day, you've seen it when he's fought a cruiserweight, when guys get close to him, especially big, strong guys. Well, listen, the heavyweight division, I mean, look no further, big, strong guys everywhere you look, and they can all punch really hard. And you thought Chris Bell and Smith punched hard. That's nothing compared to Daniel Dubois, Zhilei Zhang, what they can bring. Even a Moses Atelma.
Yeah, even Moses. You mentioned Moses Atelma. What the kid? I can't even lie to you. The kid looks absolutely great. Do you think it's right that they are kind of pushing him to push for that record, Mike Tyson's record, or should they kind of just not look at that, take their time with him, maybe give him, there's potential fights they are talking about for him, but just give me your thoughts about.
Well, they have till May, and if they can, I don't think they're going to do anything between now and May in terms of getting him a world title. But if he fought Justice Hooney next for an interim title, look, I'd pick him over Justice Hooney. I haven't been impressed with him at all. At that point, then you're like, well, you're not going to break that record unless that gets vacant. And Usyk's not going to vacate it. He's going to keep fighting. So if I was actually managing the Telma, I would say, judging by it's not for the lack of trying. It's just there's not enough titles around, like when Mike Tyson won his from Trevor Berbick. There's not any weak heavyweight champions. It's just not feasible to do it now. So look, I'm not going to knock you for trying. You've tried it. It's just the landscape is just you can't do it. Not that you can't do it, but pretty much, yeah. The landscape is just the way it is. It's not going to happen. So I would do the Justice Hooney fight. I would, and then I would just kind of, all right, just maybe bring him down a little bit, maybe even vacate that interim title just to say you've had it, and just go and maybe look for a European. Go down a little bit. He's 20 years old. He's still going to be around in 10 years' time. There's no rush.
Oh, big up to Lucy all the way from the States.
Well, that would be very kind of tainted. That I wouldn't personally consider it. And I like Mike Tyson. I love Mike Tyson. I'd love to see his record broken. I wouldn't recognize that myself personally. It's a regular belt. I mean, anyone who's ever won it, they're always referred to as a secondary champion. And what do you want? Do you want to be regarded as the youngest secondary champion in history, or just the youngest champion? No secondary, no inverted commas. Just there you are. It's yours.
It's true. It's true. Even when Dubois won the regular championship in the States,
no one talks about that.
No one spoke about it against Brian. But he's
not called the two-time heavyweight champion. He's called just the IBF champion. That's it.
This is why Gman, this is why Trill is also saying that, look, you know your boxing. This is one of the reasons why it's just such a pleasure, just having you on, because you're educating the people on this as well. Dubois, he's won the regular title before, but like we mentioned, it wasn't really considered as a championship. Now he's known as the IBF champion. So, yeah.
I think like a decade or so ago, they really did consider the regular title legit. Because it wasn't as, listen, it was a stupid idea, it should never have happened, but it wasn't as Mickey Mouse, for want of a better word, as it became. They had champions, they had challengers, and you had good challengers and decent champions. And then, you do the whole Freza Kendo, then you mandate your regular champion, and you're just kind of like, well, it was a stupid idea to start with. Now you've really devalued it as if it needed devaluing. Whereas now you're just like your regular champion. Okay, but what is that? Like, I don't consider Kubrat Pulev a world champion. He's not. So there's that. So I think they could do it, but no one's really going to take that serious. It's just like, I'll give you an example. Like Luke Littler became the youngest darts world champion. And they said that he broke Michael Van Gerwen's record. Well, Michael Van Gerwen was the youngest PDC world champion. He wasn't the youngest world champion in history. That was Eric Bristow in 1980.
Oh.
But no one really counts that because it was the BDO, which was the only sanctioned body at the time, but it became the Mickey Mouse one. So they always counted Michael Van Gerwen as the real youngest darts champion until Luke Littler came along and broke it both. So you see what I mean? That there'll always be that, well, you know, Helma's younger than Tyson when he won the regular, but Mike Tyson won the real thing. So
this is it, man. This is why I've just energy. Obviously, because I don't want to take too much of Gman's time, of course, because he's gonna round up, you know, the weekend on his platform. But yeah, because is there a few questions that you wanted to cover with Gman before we wrap up this special, of course, man?
One question. IBO, do they class that as a legitimate world? No. Okay.
No.
You just cut off straight away.
The IBO have always been let's call them the gate crashers, the wedding crashers, so to speak. If there's ever a big fight, because IBO titles get vacated left, right, and center, because who the hell wants to pay a sanction fee for something that's not legit? They take their rankings apparently off BoxRec, you know, which is ridiculous. BoxRec rankings, you can't do that.
Well, IBO take BoxRec.
Yep. They've no mandatory system in place because no one's going to want to fight for it because it's not recognized. You know, back in the 1990s, Frank Warren had the WBO and he had titles at the WBU. You ever heard of them? No, because they were literally just as obscure. So, no, the IBO is not legit. I would say having an interim title is way better than having an IBO title. At least the interim title actually does something for you. You know, an IBO title is just there. It's kind of like, you know, all right, I've got this belt that says I'm a world champion. It's just no one recognizes me as one. So no, look, some fighters.
Do you think down the line, though, do you think it's going to be respected? Because remember, at one point, I would say when Eubank and Ben were fighting for the WBO title at the time, they were kind of brushing off the WBO title as a proper title at the time, and over the years, it's seen as a respectable title now. So, do you see that in the future as the IBO eventually kind of gaining that respect? And I don't know, just kind of want to just get your
very different scenario, because the IBO had a major promoter. The WBO had a major promoter like Frank Warren behind it, and it also had fighters like Vladimir and Vitali, who were the next crop of heavyweights, and they were happy to defend that title. They weren't ashamed. They were happy to parade themselves to the point where people actually started recognizing it. Literally no one, you would never see Martin Bacoli, Daniel Dubois be like, oh yeah, my IBO title. You'd never see Frank Warren sell that, even with, we'll say, like David Adelaide versus whoever for another. You'd never see that because people would be just like, what the hell? Very different. I don't think it'll ever happen. I don't think it'll, and I don't want it to. We don't need any more. 4 is enough. I mean, 3 was plenty. 4 is enough. And you add a 5th one on, you're just going to add more problems. You're just going to add more sanction fees for one, and bigger sanction fees, more money that you're going to have to fork out. You're going to have fight. Like at the end of the day, you're going to have more world champions in the nice way that are undeserving. Any fighter can just be like, all right, those 4 titles are all with a hard fighter. Oh, he picked up a vacant title on an injury. I'll have him, boom, world champion. You crap, So we don't need that. We need, I would say, look, 4 is too many, but the WBA, WBO, IBF, WBC, they're not perfect, but they're fine. We just don't need any more.
Nobody wants that damn belt, respectfully. Look,
no one wants.
I agree. I agree with you guys, man. I agree. It
doesn't even look nice.
Eubank has won it a few times, man.
So look at it there. It doesn't even look nice. It just looks like they got the WBA version of Wish.
No, G-Man, honestly, my brother, I just wanted to say from my heart, big up to you. I'm just loving the growth of your channel personally. So people, straight after this show, I'm going to add the links to G-Man Boxing's channel. Make sure you subscribed, and also make sure you tuned in to his show with Ade. I need to remind people, look, He's got a special series with Ade. The way these two are just breaking down the sport on a different level is
Every
great.
Friday.
Every Friday, make sure you tune in. It's a tremendous, tremendous show. People,
we record tomorrow. It's going to be good fun.
Well, you don't. Oh, yep. So look,
we record it on Thursdays. Yeah, most of the Thursdays.
On Thursdays, out on Fridays. So people, you're getting the exclusive right here. You know, Gman and Ade, absolute special. But once again, Gman, big up to you. Thank you for coming. You know, on the boxing roundup for the second time. You know, it's always a pleasure. You know, the energy, the love. Everyone loves you as well. Look, the comments are going absolutely crazy. But look, big up, big up, big up, big up to you. Cuz before we wrap up the show, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Then you're gonna wrap up the show for us, man. Big up to you. Yes, people, 40% off. iBoxingHub 24. Just take advantage. Head over to the description and just take advantage, people, man. But look, you're seeing the love from people. Great show. Again, shout out to you guys. Shout out to you. Look, FK Breeze is saying, G-Man, big love. You took the piss with White. Look, you get the real talk with G-Man. This is what you get, man. And also, big up to Aaron once again. Adfest. This is my brother. We're doing tremendous work on great projects. So, yeah, this is obviously great, man. Biyenge, can you be my sparring partner? Look, FK Breeze wants you to be the sparring partner.
Inbox me, innit? Inbox me on my Instagram.
Let's go. And look, you got Ra. You're a bit late to the show, Ra. We're about to wrap up, man. You're too late, mate. You're going to have to watch this afterwards, man. But, cuz, man, it over to you, man.
Guys, you know, thank you for tuning in. Keep supporting. Big event this weekend, and have a lovely, productive week. Peace and love.
Bless.
Thank you, man.
No, wait, mate.
It's another band. All the Muslim cars now, with your bag it up. Light up my card with a sweet one, please. Someone flicks me a bag it up. So, it's another